The unseen hand. In the gilded enclave of Emerald Falls, power was a currency, and the Montgomery family held a mint. At the heart of their opulent world was a 13-year-old heir, Julian, a boy who saw people as pawns in his cruel games. His favorite target was Anya, the family's young maid, whose quiet dignity he sought to break for sport. His parents, absorbed in their own world of excess, would often watch with amusement as Julian forced her to crawl and bark like a dog. Anya was invisible to them, a ghost in their sprawling mansion, her spirit a mere plaything. But a fire, once thought extinguished, was smoldering beneath the surface, waiting for a spark. The night of the annual gala was a testament to Montgomery's influence. 12 of Emerald Falls' elite were gathered, their laughter echoing off the high ceilings of the dining room. Anya, on her feet for 14 hours, moved silently, her back aching and her new shoes pinching. She carried a heavy silver tray laden with roasted duck, a carefully practiced neutral expression masking her exhaustion. More wine, mother. Julian's voice cut through the chatter. Slumped in his chair, he was more interested in his phone than the elaborate dinner. His mother, Vivian Montgomery, gave him a fond smile. "No, thank you, darling. But perhaps you can ask Anya to refresh everyone's water glasses." Anya went about her task with the silent grace of a veteran servant. As she reached Julian's place, he slyly extended his foot. Anya stumbled, a few drops of water splashing onto the polished mahogany table. Julian's smirk widened. Oops. A ripple of hushed giggles spread among the guests. Vivian chuckled. "Julian, darling, don't be naughty," her tone more playful than reprimanding. Anya's cheeks burned with shame. Through the floor-to-ceiling windows, she caught sight of Leo, the new gardener, meticulously trimming roses. Their eyes met for a fleeting second, and in his steady, observant gaze, she found a flicker of strength. "I'm bored," Julian announced, his voice a petulant whine. "This party needs some entertainment." His eyes landed on Anya, glinting with malicious cruelty. "Anya, come here." Her stomach knotted. She knew that look. It meant he concocted a new, demeaning spectacle. "Get down on your hands and knees," he commanded. "Bark like a dog. I want to make a funny video for social media." Anya froze, her dignity screaming in protest. "Julian, I don't think." "Do it," he hissed, his voice dropping to a whisper. "Or I'll tell Daddy you broke that expensive vase last week. You know what happens to servants who break things, don't you?" Anya's breath caught in her throat. She knew. She had seen 3 employees vanish after Julian's accusations. With trembling hands, she sank to the floor, the polish with cold against her palms. Shame burned through her as she forced out a weak woof. "Louder," Julian demanded, and crawl around the table. "Make it good." Tears pricked her eyes as she began her humiliating circuit, the guests' laughter a brutal soundtrack to her degradation. Through the window, she saw Leo. He had stopped working, his phone subtly angled to record the scene. His face was a mask of grim determination. Knowing someone was documenting this with sympathy rather than amusement gave Anya a fragile thread of resilience. "Now, beg for a treat," Julian ordered, holding up a dinner roll. "Sit up and beg like a good dog." The dinner roll hit her in the face, a final, stinging humiliation that brought a fresh wave of laughter from the crowd. Anya fled the dining room, seeking refuge on the cold stone steps behind the mansion. Footsteps crunched on the gravel path. It was Leo. "Miss Anya," he said softly, his voice gentle. "May I join you?" He sat beside her, maintaining a respectful distance. What they did in there, it was wrong, cruel and illegal. Anya let out a bitter laugh. "Illegal? The Montgomerys own this town." "They may own the town," Leo replied, "but they don't own the truth." He pulled out his phone, holding it out to her. "I recorded everything." Anya's hands trembled as she watched the video. The laughter, Julian's smug face, her own humiliation, it was all there. "I used to be a lawyer," Leo explained. "This is workplace harassment, discrimination, a hostile work environment. With this evidence, we could what?" Anya interrupted, her voice cracking. "The sheriff plays golf with Mr. Montgomery. They'll bury it. Then we go higher, Leo said, his eyes intense. State authorities, the media, civil rights organizations. This isn't just one incident. It's a pattern of abuse. And sometimes all it takes is one spark. That night, they began to build their case. They documented every incident, every witness, every threat. Anya felt a tiny flame of hope. The next morning at the Emerald Falls police station, their hopes were swiftly dashed. The heavy-set desk sergeant's face hardened at the mention of the Montgomery name. Officer Brooks, a young man with a perpetually bored expression, listened to Anya's story with detached disinterest. "We have video evidence," Leo interjected, pulling out his phone. Brooks watched the clip, his expression unreadable. When it was over, he cleared his throat. "While this is unfortunate, I don't see any clear criminal activity." Leo pressed on, detailing the legal violations. Brooks's expression hardened. "And you are—" "I was a lawyer. Now I work as a gardener on the Montgomery estate." Brooks closed his notepad. "Then you should know better than to waste police time. This is a civil matter." Just then, Sheriff Daniels, a man with a stern face who Anya recognized as a close friend of Richard Montgomery, walked in. "Everything all right in here, Brooks?" "Yes, sir. Just a minor complaint." The sheriff's gaze fell on Anya. "Miss Anya, isn't it? Richard Montgomery mentioned you might be coming by. Said there was some confusion about a party game." He smiled, but his eyes were cold. "I understand you might be feeling embarrassed, but making false accusations against respected citizens is a serious matter. Could result in charges of filing false reports, defamation. Are you threatening my client, Sheriff?" Leo stood slowly. Daniel's smile didn't waver, just offering friendly advice. "Bell Ridge is a peaceful town. We take care of our own here." He reached for Leo's phone. "Mind if I see this video everyone's talking about?" Before either could object, he picked up the phone. His thick fingers worked the screen for a moment. Then he frowned. Seems the file's corrupted. Technology, right? So unreliable." He placed the phone back down. "Since there's no evidence, I think we're done here." Anya's heart sank. She checked her own phone. The video was gone there, too. The walk out of the station felt endless, their failure a heavy weight. "I'm so sorry," Leo said quietly. "I should have made backup copies." "It's not your fault," Anya replied, her voice filled with a hollow sense of defeat. "They're all in it together." Later that evening, Anya's phone buzzed with an anonymous text. "Stop talking or disappear." The next morning, Anya returned to mansion, not to work, but to retrieve her belongings. She slipped in through the service door, hoping to avoid the family. As she made her way to the staff locker room, she noticed a light spilling from a basement door she'd never seen open. Curiosity overpowering her fear, she peered inside. It was a private office, and the computer was still on. Her heart pounding, Anya saw payroll records on the screen. The numbers didn't match the wages she and her co-workers received. Massively, she began photographing documents with her phone. Bank statements showing transfers to offshore accounts, letters detailing payoffs to local officials, including Sheriff Daniels. A ledger marked Emerald Falls Development revealed how the Montgomerys had bought up land at artificially low prices, bribing assessors. This was more than abuse. This was systematic fraud on a federal scale. Footsteps overhead made her jump. She meticulously returned everything to its place and slipped out, her phone now a repository of explosive secrets. Outside, she found Leo near the rose garden. "Leo, it's bigger than we thought," she whispered, showing him the photos. So much bigger. His calm facade gave way to the sharp focus of his lawyer days. "This is federal-level fraud, RICO territory. The scope of this corruption, they're stealing from everyone." A car door slammed near the mansion. "We need to get you out of here," Leo said urgently. "If they realize you found this." That afternoon, they organized the evidence at Leo's small house, creating a detailed list of names and incidents. They reached out to other workers, people they knew would speak up. The next day, they met with a small group at a diner on the edge of town. Each worker had a story of wage theft, long hours without overtime, and threats of deportation. They were so focused, They didn't notice a man in the corner booth taking photos with his phone. Within hours, the Montgomerys' retaliation began. Anya's social media accounts were flooded with fabricated lies. A local news website ran a story about her history of workplace violations. That evening, police cars appeared at her apartment building. Her landlord served her with an immediate eviction notice, claiming illegal activity. "They're trying to scare you," Leo said firmly as he helped her pack. "You can stay with me. They want to isolate you, but we won't let them." At Leo's small house, surrounded by boxes, Anya felt the day's events crash over her. But beneath the fear, a new feeling was taking hold. Determination. "They think they can bully anyone who stands up to them," she said, wiping her eyes. "But we have evidence, and I'm not backing down." The next morning, their small coalition gathered in Leo's kitchen. "We need to be smarter than them," Anya said. "The Montgomerys think money and fear can silence anyone, but we're going to prove them wrong." They planned a series of secret meetings in safe places, away from prying eyes. They would continue to gather testimonies and build an unshakable case. Anya made a critical call to an old friend, Natasha Morgan, a respected journalist. Natasha arrived with her laptop and recording equipment, her eyes widening as Anya and Leo laid out the evidence. "This is massive," she whispered, scrolling through photos of Dr. Payroll records. "But we have to do this right. If we rush, their lawyers will tear us apart." For weeks, they worked meticulously. Natasha began her independent investigation, and Anya and Leo continued to gather testimony from dozens of workers. The public needed to see the real Montgomerys, not the charitable facade they presented at galas. The day of the broadcast, Anya walked into the news station, her heart racing with anticipation. But something was wrong. Natasha sat at her desk, her face pale, her hands trembling. "They know everything," she whispered, showing Anya a series of threatening texts. "They have photos of my daughter at school, my parents' medical records. The station owner called me at midnight. If I run the story, I'll never work in journalism again. The segment has been pulled." Anya left the office in a daze. On her drive home, she saw a plume of dark smoke on the horizon. Her heart stopped as she turned onto Leo Street. Fire trucks clustered around the charred remains of his house. She found Leo in an ambulance, his face smudged with soot, his arm bandaged. "I saw them pull away in a black SUV," he said, his voice raspy. "They used accelerant." Anya's heart was a hollow pit. All their evidence, all their careful work, it was all gone. "Not everything," Leo said, pulling a small flash drive from his pocket. "I kept backups in a fireproof safe." But his words of hope were quickly overshadowed by the next wave of the Montgomerys' assault. A police car pulled up, and Anya watched in horror as the officers arrested Leo, claiming he was a murder suspect. The news report on the motel TV painted a picture of Leo as a former lawyer with a history of mental instability, who had allegedly burned down his own house and murdered a local handyman whose remains were found in the ruins. Anya's phone buzzed with messages from her allies. "I have kids. I can't risk it anymore. We should never have trusted." One by one, they abandoned the fight. Anya felt a cold, crushing despair. The next morning, a knock on her motel door broke the silence. It was Maria, the kitchen staff coordinator, with 6 other workers behind her. Their faces were tired, but their eyes were determined. "We heard what they did to Leo," Maria said softly, "but we're not running. We saw what you did at that dinner party." Another worker added, "You showed us we're human beings, not their property. We're scared, but we're more scared of letting them win." They each pulled out their phones and notebooks, filled with years of secret records, illegal orders, and threats. "They can hack websites," Rose, a housekeeper, said, "but they can't hack our memories." Anya's hand stopped shaking. The weight of her despair began to lift. These people, her allies, had not abandoned her. They were here to fight. "Running won't fix this," Maria said. "The only way forward is through #, the Gala of Reckoning." 3 days later, the City Hall ballroom glittered with crystal chandeliers and the self-satisfied smiles of Emerald Falls elite. Anya, in a borrowed server's uniform, moved through the crowd, a tray of champagne in her hands. Around her, her coalition members were an unseen army, blending seamlessly into the background. Vivian Montgomery held court near the stage, laughing with the mayor's wife. She took a fresh glass of champagne from Anya without a second glance. "The help is so well trained this year," she remarked, almost invisible. Through her earpiece, Anya heard Leo's calm voice. "Channel 5 is live. All backup streams are running. FBI agents are in position outside." The mayor stepped to the podium, introducing Vivian with effusive praise for her charitable works. As she took the stage, her smile was radiant, her voice dripping with sincerity. "Community partnership has always been a cornerstone of the Montgomery legacy," she began. "Our worker training program has helped hundreds of underprivileged." "You mean underpaid?" Anya's voice cut through the air, perfectly amplified by a hidden microphone. She set down her tray and stepped forward. Or should we say enslaved? Gasps rippled through the crowd. Security guards moved toward her, but froze as more servers stepped out of shadows, forming a silent circle around the stage. "What is the meaning of this?" Vivian shrieked, her polished mask cracking. "The meaning is truth," Anya replied, climbing onto the stage. "The meaning is justice." Maria, a server with quiet strength, activated a large screen behind the stage, displaying Walter's carefully organized evidence. Banking records, fake invoices, damning emails. Anya faced the cameras directly. "My name is Anya Garcia, and I'm here to expose decades of systematic abuse and corruption by the Montgomery family." "Remove her immediately," Vivian screamed. But the security guards looked at the dozens of staff members surrounding them, and no one moved. "3 days ago, your son forced me to crawl like a dog for your entertainment," Anya continued, her voice ringing with clarity and strength. "But that was just one small cruelty in an empire built on exploitation." One by one, the workers stepped forward. Mr. Johnson, the old gardener, described working for decades without a raise or benefits. Maria detailed wage theft. Carlos exposed unsafe working conditions. Each testimony was a sharp, devastating blow to the Montgomerys' carefully constructed image. Vivian tried to grab the microphone, but Anya held firm. "The evidence is already spreading nationwide. We have the files. We have the proof." Just then, uniformed FBI agents appeared in the doorways. Vivian's face turned ashen as she recognized the federal badges. "You can't do this," she hissed at Anya. "Do you know who we are?" "Yes," Anya answered calmly. "You're criminals who thought money made you untouchable. The community you exploited, the workers you abused, the laws you broke. That ends tonight." The ballroom erupted in chaos as the FBI agents moved in. Richard Montgomery burst through the crowd, his face purple with rage. "You liar," he screamed at Anya. "I'll destroy you." "No," Anya said firmly. "You won't." Maria played the video of Julian forcing Anya to crawl. The crowd watched in horrified silence. "Mrs. Montgomery," an FBI agent announced, "you and your husband are under arrest for fraud, embezzlement, labor law violations, and conspiracy." As the Montgomerys were led away in handcuffs, their designer clothes and priceless jewelry couldn't hide their fear and fury. Live cameras captured every moment. Anya stood at the podium, watching her former tormentor's humiliating exit. The weight of years lifted from her shoulders. Around her, the workers embraced, tears of relief and triumph streaming down their faces. "Leo," Anya whispered into her earpiece, her voice thick with emotion. "Did you see?" "Every second," he replied. "Thomas Vance's lawyer is already filing my release papers. We did it, Anya. We really did it." 1 month later, the autumn breeze rustled through the newly planted community garden where the Montgomery mansion once stood. Anya stood at a wooden podium, addressing a crowd of familiar faces beneath a banner, reading, "Emerald Falls Workers' Rights Center. This will be our headquarters," she announced, drawing cheers. "Every worker who stands up to injustice will find support here." Leo watched from the side, a proud smile on his face. The past month had transformed Emerald Falls. A new mayor, a former union organizer, now led the town. The police department was under state oversight. The mansion's gaudy fountains had been replaced by vegetable beds and fruit trees tended by the very people who had once served the Montgomerys. Anya's office overlooked the garden. On her desk sat a photo of her coalition members and a small plaque. Courage is contagious. A knock interrupted her thoughts. It was Maria, holding a handwritten letter. Anya read it aloud, her voice filled with emotion. It was from Eleanor Martinez, a worker who had endured years of abuse but was too afraid to speak up. You didn't just expose corruption, the letter read. You helped build something beautiful in its place. You didn't just win justice. You showed us how to keep fighting for it. Anya carefully folded the letter, touching it to her heart. The fear and pain of that horrible night seemed distant now, transformed into purpose and strength. Frame it, Leo suggested gently, and take it with us. Anya nodded. To remind every worker we meet that change is possible, that justice is worth fighting for, that courage really is contagious.